What's up, stream? Oh my god, the mic is so far. The mic is so far. The mic is. Okay. Had myself repeating there, but that has been fixed. So, what I'm going to be doing today, because I said I would do this yesterday, and it's now 7 p.m., and I said tomorrow I'm going to learn the QuickBooks stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I am learning the QuickBooks stuff today. I've been really I've been really enjoying Minecraft recently. Not gonna lie. I figured out how to download the Ninja Brain bot. I figured out how to download the like vertical and horizontal tool or whatever. And it's made the runs a lot more fun. So I've been like really into it recently. Speaking of into it, QuickBooks. QuickBooks Intuit. Wow, they own it. That's crazy. What does Intuit not own? Anyway, so yeah, I've been really enjoying it. And I was like, oh, this has been like super fun. But today, my friends, we are going to do we're going to learn how to be a QuickBooks ProAdvisor. That's the plan for today. It took me a while, so the reason I opened to this screen is because like last time, I don't know if you guys remember, but I was trying to figure out how to add a client and I couldn't seem to do it. It's because I was unfiltered for subscriptions, so that's a pretty embarrassing problem. But I was able to figure it out. So now I can kind of go back to the training. I'm going to just do this like this for a second because Lord knows this thing's going to probably dox me. At some point I'm doxing myself, or not doxing myself, but at some point I'm leaking the email. It's happening. I'm sure of it. But that's okay. All right, training library. So this was where I was last time. Let's see. So I went to ProAdvisor, training, and then training library over here. E-learning. So certification, training. So I don't want to take the exam, but I do want to do the training. And I should be more than 0% of the way through because I did watch the intro and I was partway through setting up a new client. So let's finish that, shall we?
That's going to pop up our edit client window.
Okay. So I have to zoom out because then I can't see it unless. Oh, can I do this? Oh no, that's not what I was looking for. Can I do? I guess I could go full screen. I mean, but I also want to be able to practice while I'm doing this, so I'm probably not going to do that.
We can validate, update, or change any of the fields in this top section, and then we're going to scroll.
But I do actually think full screen would be useful. I don't know why it's so slow, but
we're going to scroll down to the products area and toggle on the subscription.
Okay, let's go back.
So that means that this is on the list. We can see that here we have clients all have subscriptions associated with them because we see the QB icon here, sometimes referred to as the QB meatball. If you were to hover over any one of these meatballs or these icons, you would be seen through a pop-up and you would be able to see what type of subscription this is, whether it's Essentials, Plus, Easy Start, Advanced, etc. But as we move down the list, we can see that here we have a client, Harwood, Madeira, and Cooper, that does not have a subscription associated with it. So that means that this is a non-subscribed client. They're existing clients. We can add them to our client file because that's how they showed up here. But let's say it's time to now add a QBO file. What we're going to do is click our edit button. That's going to pop up our edit client window. We can validate, update, or change any of the fields in this top section. And then we're going to scroll down to the products area and toggle on the subscription button. We see no subscription. We will toggle on subscription. Okay. We'll be asked to fill in the rest of the details as to which level or which product we would like to subscribe to. Click save, and you've now added a QBO product to your non-subscribed client.
Cool.
Another way, you might land a new client, they're a new business, they don't have a QBO file yet. And from there, you may just click the Add Client button, and that will pop you through a whole Add Client feature. Looks very similar to the one that we have here. Enter in all the details, choose whether they're going to have a subscription or no subscription, and away you go. Those are two ways that you can add a client to your QBOA.
Okay, so that's what I did. I wonder, can I have 2 pages? Oh man, please don't dox me. Clients. Okay, so here are my clients. Let's do what she said. Let's do what she said. Practice makes perfect. Client. Man, you really can't use this zoomed in. Edit client. Okay, here is his info, and you can add a subscription, and then let's see what's next. Bill my firm. Take advantage of our only ongoing discount when you pay for your client subscriptions. So these are all the different levels from that they were talking about at the start in the first video. But if I just build a client, so you get a 12-month discount, and this one is half price if I get billed. But then what's the point of that if I have to bill my client? I don't really. Because presumably I would just forward the expense of this onto my client. So, all right, let's just choose ledger. Why not? $96. Next, time tracking solution, real-time project tracking. Okay, next. Don't have a payment method, add one to continue. Primary admin is the highest account permissions. Every part that can manage other users. Make my client the primary admin. Honestly, like, nicely done with the UI. Okay, so then checkout. I'm not gonna do that, but it's cool that you can do that. So let's just go back. Okay, so that's how I would add a client and the different levels that the client would have. Different levels of QuickBooks, basically. So the first one, there's like one accountant, or the first ledger level is like for holding companies. The second level is for like basic small business, where there's only one bookkeeper, and then it kind of grows from there. And I think the middle or the fourth level is good for large like companies that have a lot of inventory. I think those are kind of the basics. So let's continue with this.
If your client already has an existing subscription, there are two ways that they can invite you. The first way is to always ask them to open up their.
Is that a leak? Is this gonna leak my IP? Hold on. No. Okay. Still fucking kind of crazy.
Their QBO file and click the My Accountant section from their left navigation menu. If they see this window, an accountant can be your best business partner.
Okay, I don't know what's going on.
They say, way. If your client already has an existing subscription, there are two ways that they can invite you. The first way is to always ask them to open up their QBO file and click the My Accountant section from their left navigation menu. If they see this window, an accountant can be your best business partner, they simply need to enter in your email address and click invite. And just like that, you're going to get the invitation, and now you're an accountant user for their QBO file. Sometimes this is not available to you because they've already invited someone else to their QBO file. And in that case, what you'll do is you'll ask them to click their gear icon in the top right, head on over to your company, click Manage Users. That will pop up the Manage Users window where it's subbed out by the User tab and the Accountant tab. You'll see there's probably already one name there.
Does mine do that? God, it's so annoying to not dox myself. Settings. I don't see a manage users here. Transfer clients. Company settings. I don't see manage users. Also, I think my desktop audio is a tad bit loud. Let's bring it down. Oh want you to be exactly -9, ideally. Okay. Well, I don't see a manage users, so
you will ask them to go ahead and click invite.
they'll have to do that themselves.
Enter your email address and click invite. So when you're invited by your client with an existing QBO file, there's a short little timeline for you to follow. So here's step number 1. The client invites you from inside their file to join their QBO. You're going to receive an email. When you receive that email invitation, you're going to open up your existing QBOA browser and log off or sign out of your QBOA product. Then it is safe to go.
Okay, open an email. So log out, open email, accept an invitation, enter my sign in to my QuickBooks thingy. After that, QuickBooks Online accountant does the rest. New client appears. You'll be made an admin. Get to work.
And username and sign-in information. QuickBooks has added that new user access, grow their business. You've started with.
Thank you for reading off the slides.
Sometimes you start.
Okay. Upgrade subscriptions and billing. Accountant build subscriptions. So I guess those are the ones that are billed to me, and then client build subscriptions are billed to the client.
With a client, and it's time to upgrade and help them grow their business. Sometimes you've started with a client and it's time to upgrade an existing subscription. So the client has come to you and they're using Easy Start, but they need multi-currency. So you want to upgrade them, or maybe you've set them up in Essentials because that was the information at the time. And as you work with that client, their business has grown and evolved, and it's time to move them up to the Plus or more. So where are you going to make this change? You're going to start in your QBOA dashboard. No surprise there. You're going to click your gear icon in the top right. From the profile column, you're going to click subscriptions and billing, which will pop open your subscriptions and billing page, where you will select your account billed subscription. So that's a few steps, but you can see 1, 2, 3, and here you are. You look down to your client list and expand or click your expander menu to show the details of that particular data file. In this case, we're looking at Alberta mountain bikes. When we expand it, we can see that they're currently subscribed to QuickBooks Plus. And if we want to make a change, we're going to click our downward chevron to expand that menu, and we could go ahead and choose the upgrade button. Once you click the upgrade button, you'll follow the prescription. Save or done, and away you go. You have just upgraded that existing subscription. So we're going to jump into a quick demo and show you how to add a new client subscription, as well as what you should do when you're invited to a new client's QBO file, or even when you start your very own QBO file from scratch. Here we are in our QBOA dashboard, and let's talk about the first 2 ways to add a new QBO client. So the first way we can talk about is the add a client. So it pops up a nice little window, and all we need to do is walk through it. Put in all the information that we want. Make sure that when you're putting in a mobile phone number that you are going with the +1 for Canada, because as a global product, it does matter the cell phone number attached to ensure that you get the correct QBO version for your file. And then follow along, set up the team access. We'll cover this a little bit later. Subscription, no subscription, you get to decide whether it's going to be wholesale direct. Make your selection as to the subscription level. And if you're unsure, there's always the compare button here, where you can pop that open in a new window and look at the details of the features and functionality of each one of these subscription levels. Decide whether you're adding payroll and or time, and then click save, and voila, you have added a new client. If I've added that new client with a subscription, it's going to show up with the QB icon. If I've added the new client without a subscription, it's going to show up without the icon. So we saw in the screenshot the example of Harwood Madeira. Let's go ahead now and change that to adding a QBO client. We do that by clicking Edit Client, scrolling down, and toggling on the subscription. Again, if we're unsure, click Compare, whether it's wholesale direct discount, choose our subscription level. And
can I say this kind of sucks because like, yeah, she's showing it, but it's not like the software is not really set up to. There isn't like a learning environment set up, so you can't really like try these things yourself. I guess that's fine. It is free videos technically, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much.
And then click Save. So those are 2 ways that you can add a client QBO file to your QBOA dashboard. Okay? If you want to know which subscription level any one of your clients is currently at, right? We know Bluebell doesn't have a subscription. We can see that Timberline is QuickBooks Online Advanced because I've hovered over this QB icon. We can see this is QuickBooks Online Plus. So there's one way that you can determine what subscription level your client is using. A second way is to go to your gear icon at the top, click your subscriptions and billing.
Well, I don't have any. See, here, this is the problem, is like I don't have any subscriptions, and I'm not gonna get a subscription like a $30 a month subscription just for the hell of it. Like I'll do it if I have an actual client, but I don't have like a way to trial it, you know?
We see our account build subscriptions, and that won't populate in my particular data set, but we can go to client build.
Client build.
And we can see there's our Alberta mountain bikes. If we want, we can see that it's subscribed. And in this particular case, this being my training file, we don't see the upgrade, downgrade, etc. here. Firm subscriptions is where you will see your QuickBooks Time, your QuickBooks Payroll, etc., etc. So this would be the second place that you would see which files or which product level, which subscription level is in use. So we can see we've got QuickBooks Plus, +1 QuickBooks Advanced.
Where's my hug?
Next up, let's go back to our dashboard.
Oh my God.
And let's jump into a file. So we're going to open up Sky Training Systems. We know it's using QuickBooks Online Plus. And let's talk about the most important areas.
Like, am I just supposed to sit here, watch this video, and then like take the quiz and pretend like I know everything? Like, what? I'm not actually using the software.
That you should be reviewing either when you set up a brand new client or when you are invited to a new QBO client's file or a new client's QBO file. The first place I always recommend that you go is to select the client overview. This is a nice 30,000 foot view of the business. First thing you see is the subscription level. Then you know whether or not sales tax is in play, as well as which apps are being used. You've got all of your bank activity information here, so you can see which accounts have been connected to the bank feed and which ones have not. You can also see when it was last reconciled. You've got a number of tabs here, a number of common issues that you might need to investigate. If you've been invited to a new file, it might mean that there's some work to bring the file up to date, and here's a great place for you to get a handle on what those activities might include. Last up on this section is the transaction volume, so you can pick your date range and see at a glance how many transactions occurred during that time frame. Right? That can also give you a very good help as far as evaluating how much work might be involved in bringing this account to current. So the client overview is a great first place to start to see what the heck is going on with this file and where do you need to begin in your analysis before you begin work. The second place we'd like to recommend that you go is to the bank feed section located in Bank Transaction Center. And here at a glance, we can see that 2 bank accounts are connected and no credit card accounts.
I'm gonna dox myself. Is there a way to set up is there a practice quick sign out or open the link? Free pre-populated sample company. Says will via a special link or the gear icon in QBO accountant. Okay.
And log back into them. They basically reset anyway with what I try to do anyway. With that said, we are in, like I said, the sample company for the advanced SKU. And what's lovely about this advanced SKU is that it's basically similar to what
Own a design studio. Get a really cool design contract.
Similar to what you would find with the advanced SKU with any clients that you might be working with, or if you decide to, as a client yourself, to or a business owner to get it. So has all the stuff. And let's go to the banking transactions area so that way you can see and or get proficient in your skill. Talk about the sample company which using or get proficient and put the links to both the advanced sample company and the regular sample company.
Nice. Okay, this is way better. Why didn't they start with this on the freaking QuickBooks training? That's what I'm talking about. Oh, wait. Is this... I guess it's fine even if it's like US or whatever. But... what is this? Black hole. Okay. Okay, there's nothing there. Let's try this one. Test drive US Advanced. So, does this one have actual 34 expenses? Wait, this is like the business itself, right? Okay, now, see, this is good that I'm confused. Now I can kind of figure out what's going on. Okay, let's see. Can this unconfuse me? Or will it confuse me?
See at a glance how many transactions occurred during that time frame, right? That can also give you a very good help as far as evaluating how much work might be involved in bringing this account to current. So the client overview is a great first place to start to see what the heck is going on with this file and where do you need to begin in your analysis before you begin work. The second place we'd like to recommend that you go is to the bank feed section located in Bank Transaction Center.
Shit. So I'm in accountant view, but now it's manage users. This is, I'm like pretty sure this is the view of the business. But fine, let's go in here. Okay.
And here at a glance, we can see.
So it's slightly different. It says switch from accountant view, but I thought this. What happens if I press this? This is the business view. Okay, let's go back to accountant view. Wait, this is like different from what she was saying. This is from 2024, so maybe. Oh wait, maybe I can add this to my actual account.
And they call them test drive files in the description, so that way you'll have those that you can use at your leisure. Now, before I actually jump into this, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel, share it with others. My goal this year is to try to reach 4,000 viewer hours for 2024, and I'm getting very close to doing that. Said, we are in, like I said, the sample company for the advanced SKU. And what's lovely about this advanced SKU is that it's basically similar to what you would, if you are using QuickBooks Online Accountant, then you can access the test drive, and it's usually a plus level subscription. So you click on that big gear icon there, go down to sample company, and that will log you into.
Oh, okay. I like how I'm using a YouTube tutorial because the training tutorials are so doo-doo. Yeah. Give me the sample company. Just so funny to me. Okay. Long for success event planning or something like that. Okay, we got QuickBooks. We got this open. Now where is, yeah, this is still accountant view. I don't love that the view changes. Only one company can be open at a time. Oh. Okay, let's do this one, close that, because I want the training to keep going. Oh, good. It actually like signs you out. Oh my god. Ridiculous. Okay, but I can do that maybe over here. I guess this is the sample company. I guess this one's fine. I want like the one that, the new one or whatever. Okay, let me log into it here too. This is so dumb. Why? Why is it like this? Use a different account. Is it gonna let me sign in two browsers? Probably not, now that I think about it. Set up Windows Hello. No, I'm good. I don't want a pass key, bruh. Okay. Are we finally, like, are we good? Let me go to sample company. Continue. So I had to sign in order to go to the sample company, which then signs me out. And now we have what we're looking for. Okay, signed into the sample company. Now let's go back to, no, actually, I want this here. Okay. Oh my goodness. What happened to my Quickbooks page? I don't know, man. You tell me. Okay, finally. Saved. Now can I go back to this is my training window? Which one was the training window? I have too many things open. Close, 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 close. And must be this one. Okay, this is my training window. And now I can go here. And I can go training library. And I can go this. And I can go resume. Continue. Oh. Can I 67%
See the two bank accounts
Okay. Cool.
are connected and no credit card accounts. We can also see when the last time, the most current date that the data was updated on. So when we're looking at our checking account, we see it was updated May 29, and we can see that there are 28 transactions that require our attention. We look at the OPEX account, we can see that it's all up to date, but all up to date means as of August of 2022. Possibly this account has been closed, possibly it's been disconnected, lots of different things, but these are pieces of information that you're going to need to know to successfully operate this file or serve this particular client. So this is the secondary we always recommend that you look at. And then my favorite is to go to your gear icon and click account and settings. Here, you've got a number of tabs, so a number of different sections to help you either become familiar with where the client is or information about them, such as their business number, whether or not they're a corporation, sole proprietor.
I'm like 90% sure that's the only QuickBooks open in my browser. Okay. Got it. So we have we have this. Hold on. Can I go dark mode? Dark. Can I go dark mode, please? Dark mode, yay. Is this one also in dark mode? Yeah, it is. Okay, now we're consistent. Every time I leave the page, I have to refresh it. Are you kidding me? Okay, we're back. So we have the credit card, which we owe $3,200. We have checking. Both these were updated in December. I think these need to be reconciled, maybe. These like 8 and 12 for review. So we're there, and now we're there. For review, yeah. So we have to reconcile 12 transactions. Deposited a couple of deposits in November. Had a couple of expenses. Okay. All right, we're chilling. Let's see.
Or partnership, what industry that they are in, et cetera, et cetera. So if the information is here, fantastic. If it's missing, then you know that you're going to need to ask that of your client so that you can properly update their profile and best serve them. Usage, although it doesn't explicitly tell you what the plan is, which subscription level, you can certainly deduce that by knowing that your limit for this plan is 5, and we know that our Plus subscription has a limit of 5. We can see that the system is recommending that you upgrade to QuickBooks Online Advanced, so it is likely that this is a Plus level subscription. Right? We see that our plan is limited to 250. We know that that means we're not in Advanced because Advanced has unlimited chart of accounts, and there's limits here. So that's another way that you can discover which subscription level is being used. Sales, again, you're going to want to look at each one of these fields and go through all of the menu options to determine that they are properly coded or programmed to serve your client. The last thing I just want to call to your attention is that other preferences are to you specifically. So you can set up the date format that you want, and that won't affect any other user. So your client might prefer day, month, year. They will set it up that way in their QBO file. You can set it up in your file with year, month, day, and that is not in conflict. Always be sure when working in this section that you save the specific section, as well as click done when you get to the end. Okay. Let's head back to our demo and talk about apps. So you probably heard that cloud-based cloud accounting, cloud bookkeeping, working in the cloud is fantastic. Well, it's really fantastic when you work with QuickBooks Online and take advantage of the ecosystem of third-party apps or third-party softwares that work directly with QuickBooks. When you are shopping for a new app, apps enhance, amplify, improve the abilities of QuickBooks Online, and they are recommended in a number of cases, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But first, it's important for you to know that all apps have gone through a very rigorous vetting procedure in order to be approved by Intuit before Intuit will list them and recommend them for your use. You can access a list of the apps by going there directly through your QuickBooks Online account and product through the tab there, or you can go directly through a browser, clicking apps.com and choosing the Canadian flag. Many cases, when you have connected to a client file, you have the ability to add a new app to your client's account. Sometimes the client has to connect the app themselves, but you'll know that as you go through and investigate the apps that are available and determine which ones are going to be suitable for your client. Lots of great deals. Everybody loves a good deal. Wholesale billing discount. Sometimes there's a free offer. You'll want to go through and be sure that you're very familiar before you make any decisions about connecting apps, as well as what happens when you disconnect an app. Okay. How do they work? That's always the number one question as to how do apps work. Well, through the background, through an API, the application can talk to directly with the QuickBooks Online functionality. Security is in place because Intuit takes that as very important, and you can be assured that security should be all in place, but you still want to do your own research. If you're starting with apps, we generally recommend starting with a reduced data entry. So starting with something that connects and brings in the data so that you don't have to data enter in a bill, an expense, an invoice, right? We've got the QuickBooks Online receipt captures that's available to you. Some people use a product such as Dex, but it will really speed up your workflow to have all that data entry come in electronically so that you don't have to. It can happen 24/7, 365, and that is wonderful that when you come in to go to work, you can see that all these transactions have already been processed for you. Apps can also help you streamline processes because they can tackle certain parts of the business. Maybe they're going to automate some of your marketing. Maybe they're going to handle the complexities of those e-commerce sales. Field service management. I've worked with refrigeration companies. I've worked with locksmiths. I've worked with landscapers that all benefit.
Why is like every company trying to become like an everything app? Can we just stick to what we're good at?
Benefited by connecting a field service application, right? Industry specific, perhaps it's a nail salon, a hair salon. There might be a function or an app that you want to connect to amplify those abilities. Security and separation of duties. This is always a hot topic to be sure that there's no risk of error, theft, or mistakes that don't get captured, right? We all want that audit trail. And so some apps will help you there. Great value and transparent pricing. We always want to know what's going on, what it's going to cost us, and having that transparency can be very, very helpful. So some best practices. Always read reviews. Yes, Intuit may have recommended this. Yes, Intuit may have approved it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be suitable in your particular use case. So be sure to do your own due diligence and run through your own vetting system before you connect an app. And definitely, definitely test a product first, start a free trial, get a demo. These app partners are in business to ensuring that the product is right for you. It doesn't do them any good to sell you something that you're going to be unhappy with. So do talk to the app partners because they are very motivated to be sure that something is right for you and you're going to enjoy the experience. Be sure that you understand the company's billing policy. I was once surprised. I thought that I was working with a Canadian company, but they were billing me in US dollars. And I can tell you that was a surprise when I received my bill. Be sure again
That's
to
always a fun
research the
surprise.
onboarding and support. Do you prefer phone help? Do you like online help? Do you want to be directed to a website to watch a video or YouTube? What works for you? What is the app offering? And do those the two things connect? Where do you want to find apps? Right inside of QBOA or from apps.com, and be sure to choose the Canadian flag. Okay. Let's pop in and just show you where that is. Let's head back to our accounting file. And so I've gone back to my QBOA dashboard here, and you can see that there's my App Center right there. Lots of things for you to click and learn about. I'm not going to go into it right now. Also, you could go to apps.com. Again, be sure that you pick your Canadian flag because that's going to be important. And just like that, you are all ready to set up your brand new client.
Yay. Next. Apps. Understand the setup process. Okay, when do we get into the useful stuff? Oh my god.
Let's talk about team users. Who is a team user? Well, when you have your QBOA account and you're working and serving your clients, you may need to add an employee or a freelancer to help you serve those clients, and that is a team user. So how do you access that? Well, you go to your navigation bar from your QBOA dashboard. The team center is right there for you. You click it, and from there you can add a new team member, you can edit a team member, you can remove a team member, you can manage and maintain all of your team members associated with your QBOA account. A few elements that you'll want to be sure to know about is that the team member access level the access levels themselves are applicable only to the firm's QBO file, the Your Book section of QBOA. Do know that all team members, when associated with your client's QBO files, are set up or are tagged as accountant users. What does that mean? Well, accountant users have the same rights and permissions as a company admin within the client QBO files. Okay? So accountant users equal company admin. Your team members are accountant users, are also company admin for your client QBO files. Why do I mention that? Is because it's not possible to adjust a team member's user access level for an individual client file. So if you assign one of your team members, let's say this is Jane here, and she's connected to your desk sales company, and you only want her to have access to the client side, the AR side, that's not possible. Once a team member is associated with the client file, they have all access available to them. That includes payroll, that includes the chart, that includes all the menus and functionality. Okay? But how you control that is that you only give your team members access to the clients that they will be working on. You might have 10 clients, 50 clients, 100 clients, but each team member is perhaps only responsible for 5 or 8 or 10. So you can limit the client list that each team member has, and that can help keep things under control. One of the other beauties of working with your QBOA product and having your team users available is that there are additional functionalities that are going to be exclusively available to you and your team. For example, there's an accountant toolbox associated with your QBOA file that gives you shortcuts as well as some special features and functions that are not available to your clients using their own QBO file. You have access of tagging your journal entries as an adjusting entry to be sure that they're easy to find and validate and review in the future. You also have the ability to undo work. And what I mean by that is if you've completed a bank reconciliation and there's an error in it, you can actually undo it and redo it. You can actually undo multiple at one time. The same with sales tax filing. Perhaps your client filed a number of sales tax returns through the QBO file, but there were errors in it, or maybe it wasn't correct, and you've come in and you want to bring their books up to date, so you need to go and undo those sales tax filing to correct them, reconcile them, and properly process them within QBO file. So those are 4 exclusive functionalities with your QBOA product. Your accountant toolbox, adjusting entries can be tagged for journal entries, undo reconciliations, as well as undo sales tax filing. So let's move on and go back to adding a new team member in our QBOA. So here we are looking at our dashboard. There's our team center. We've got 3 sections available to us: users, roles, and certifications. Here,
I am curious. What is the only one? Okay, where's my team? My accountant. So, this one is like, this isn't the accountant view. The part that's kind of annoying. It's like I actually can't do some of those things that she's talking about. Maybe I duplicate. Okay. Now we're back to accountant view. So this was find apps from the last video. Go to apps.com, then we have team. We can add user, assign a role. Edit access, choose which clients they can access. Yeah, seems easy enough.
We can see that we've got three team members right now. Their email addresses are listed, their role is listed, and whether or not they're active, inactive, and then of course we can make changes. If we wanted to add a new user, it's as simple as clicking the big green button and adding a new user. So let's do that now. We're going to be presented with a window that says add a new user. We're going to enter in their first name, their last name, and their email address. And the first list, or the first decision that you need to make is what access would you like to provide this user to your own firm's QBOA file? So if you're using your books, that is the section here. You might want to give them all access, no access. Maybe they're just invoicing your customers for you and receiving payments and deposits. Maybe they're just your AP clerk, so you only want to give them their suppliers. This is your choice, and you can always expand and view the role descriptions here in order to determine which is going to be correct. The second element, if you scroll down, is going to ask us which client files would we like to connect to Ricky in this particular case. So we're going to pop in there really back into our data and add ourselves a new team member. So from QBOA, we're going to go to our team center. You can see we've got a number of team members set up right now. And we've got, let's start with Murphy White, who doesn't currently have any access, but Murphy's role is changing. And we'd now like him to take care of the AR, or I should say, the receivables, the deposits for our firm. I can go in and click edit. And I want to change his access to my firm's books. If I want to see which roles are available to me, there's a nice list there. So if I want Murphy to be handling my receivables, I can choose standard limited customers only, and I can make that change right here. All right, so what happens? This user can now see and do everything with customers.
Role descriptions seems quite useful. Full access plus payroll. Some permissions but can't use accounting features. See and do everything with customers and sales. Suppliers. So customers would be receivables. Suppliers would probably be payables. Both. And everything except payroll. Company admin. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Continue.
Customers and sales. Maybe, oh, no, you know what? No, you know what? Maybe I wanted him just to be the payable side. I could make that change and click save. Update the user information. And now we see that Murphy now has standard limited suppliers only. So I've got two team members working on my client books, and the rest of them have no access. So for example, let's go have a look, see at Cinder Snowflake. Oh, Cinder's not accepted the invitation just yet, but Esther has. So if I want to go and edit Esther, I'm not going to give her any access to my your books, but I am going to give her access to Sky Training, perhaps Alberta Mountain Bikes, and those are all the files that I want to give her. You can see I've got 3 pages worth of files, but I'm going to give her access to those 2 and save those changes. Now, Esther might call me today and say, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to access Timberline Adventures and I can't see it. Well, why is that? Well, we would come back and have a look at her profile and see that she cannot see Timberline because she doesn't have access to it, right? If we gave her access, then she would be able to see that particular file. So no changes there. We're going to go back. And then last but not least, maybe Esther has resigned. She's not working with us anymore. What we can do is we click our ellipsis, also known as a skinny snowman. We can look at her user activity, or we could delete her from our team members list. So if she was an employee and she's no longer employed, I could go ahead and delete her here.
Okay.
And now she's no longer presented in the list. Let's continue on. We're going to head back to our presentation. And audit log. So we saw that button just a moment ago that said view user activity. Why is that important? Well, there is an audit log being controlled by QuickBooks that cannot be deleted, and it will display to you the individual team member's name next to all the transaction activity so that you as the firm owner can track and manage your team's work. Maybe you notice that a number of transactions have been recorded to meals and entertainment when they should be office supplies. You can have a look and see which of your team members was making those recordings, and then you can give them an education or update their information so that they know how to properly record the transactions and correct the ones that need to be adjusted. You have that ability as the firm owner to see who does what and when. Okay, so this is the audit log, QBOA, QuickBooks Online Account view. Okay, For your client side, your client is going to have a more limited view. They're not going to be able to see that it was Ricky or Cinder or Murphy or Gus actually completing the work. Your client is going to see that it is your firm's name in the username completing all of these activities, right? Recorded expense for 8857 on client view only shows my firm name. On my QBOA file, recorded expense for 8857, I know that it was Ricky that recorded that transaction. So that is the difference between the view of the client access versus the QBOA, the firm owner view. And why is that? Well, for the client view, the client is going to see the lead accountant name for all the activities recorded. So although Ricky's name does show up, that's because he's handled something more global in aspect. And the client will know that Ricky is the lead accountant because he's probably their point of contact and someone that they speak to quite frequently. It doesn't always have to be you, the firm owner. All the other activities are the firm name only, because if there's any question by the client should be calling the lead accountant. Okay? Sometimes you might want to change the lead account. And so the first question that we always get asked is, well, how does the lead account get assigned in the first place? Well, we've seen the add a client and edit a client screens a couple of times. And what we notice is there's a team access section. So whichever team member is creating the QBO file is going to be set as the lead accountant. So Ricky in this case is already also the primary admin, the firm owner, and he is defaulted to be the lead accountant. So from the client's perspective, the lead accountant is always displayed as the primary admin on their file, I say in brackets, because the QBOA primary admin remains unchanged on the QBOA account. So if Ricky assigned Mike DeLauro as the lead accountant, Ricky would always be the QBOA primary admin on this file. However, the client would see Mike's name as the primary admin. So I'll repeat it one more time. The lead accountant primary admin is a sub-role to the primary admin of the file. Right, it gives those levels and layers of access so that your business can grow and evolve and scale without any compromise to the client experience. So when we're looking at the managed users, again, the client will only see the lead accountant name and the firm name. We've looked at that when we're inviting clients, or when clients are inviting us. When we look at the accountant section, we're going to see the lead accountant name, the lead accountant email, and then the firm name here. Now, if we wanted to reassign a client lead, we're going to head over this way. We're going to go to our client list. And on our homepage here, we see that we have a lead column. So Jennifer Jetstream here, Murphy White there, Jennifer Jetstream there. So what happens if we want to, oh, we got Gus down here. So what if we wanted to change Gus to be Murphy in this particular case? You might think that you would click the lead, but you do not. Instead, you click the filter button here at the top, and we want to go and find Gus and apply. Here are all Gus's clients. Now, if we want to change Gus, what we do is edit the lead. So in this particular case, we see that Gus is currently associated with Canada Construction, but let's change that to Murphy and click save. And it's been done. There's our Canada Construction. Just going to take a moment. Oops, I might have clicked. And now you know how to manage your team, make some edits, adds, changes, as well as assign your lead accountant.
Solid. Damn, this is some quality content. Is that it?
Save. And it's been done.
Okay. Sick. Great. Very good. Configure team members. Very good. Wow. That's it? Finish the module and earned whatever that means. Oh my god. So what is this? Okay, that was a dashboard. Now we're doing getting started. Oh, I'm so excited to see transaction activities. Okay, fine. Let's just blast through getting started. This can't possibly be like that complicated.
When you first open a QBO file, one of the first places you're going to want to go is to your account and settings section. This is where you're going to find a number of key company settings, and it's very important that you ensure that everything here has been properly turned on, turned off, or customized to serve your client's needs. Let's jump in and walk through this section together. We're going to head into Sky Training Systems. We're going to open up that QBO file. So imagine that I've just either created this file from scratch, or I have just recently been invited to it by my client. Obviously, I've been invited to it by my client because you can see there's a lot of activity already in here. And where do I want to go to become familiar? First thing, I'm going to go up to my gear icon. I'm going to click my account and settings, and I'm going to have 7 tabs along the left-hand side are all the different areas of information kind of gathered in an organized fashion. So we see the very first one is company, where we can see that we've got the company name. Maybe the legal name is different. It could be a numbered company, or ask the client for that information. Company type, details, addresses. You're going to move on and look at usage. This gives you a clue as to which subscription level this class subscription. Toggle on or off a number of different features to our sales section. And here we're going to toggle on or off a number of different features and functionality. The first one you see, though, is the request to customize the way forms look to your clients. So here, if you wanted to customize the invoice that your client sees that you send out of QBO, or maybe the sales order, you can customize it right here. The content of that sales form, you can decide what your invoice terms are. You've got a number of different elements that you can turn on or off if you want the service date included or excluded, whether or not you're using tags, if you're accepting online payments. price rules, all of these different elements. You're going to want to familiarize yourself to determine whether they should be on or off, or enabled or disabled for the particular client file that you are working with. If this file has come to you from the client, it's a great way to understand what they are using. For example, progress invoicing is turned on. That might be something that matters to you. When you get into the expense section, all of these elements have different impacts as to the way QBO functions. So you want to ensure that they're all set up correctly. Payments, you can turn it on. This is your merchant services, or you can leave it disabled. Time, basically just what day of the week and what service fields are billable or non-billable. And then last but absolutely not least, this is the section that you'll spend some time to get the accounting correct. When is the fiscal year? When is the tax year? Are they accrual or cash? Have the books been closed or locked? What is your tax default for transaction level activities? Are they a corporation, sole proper partnership, right? And on it goes. Are classes in use? Are they on or are they off? Each one of these elements is going to be important that you look at them line by line. Over time, you might memorize them and know exactly where you want to go and what you want to do. But in the early days, take the extra moment and have a look. Automation is really helpful, and automation is such a buzzword, but you'll want to be sure that having automation on or off is going to be appropriate to the business. Pre-filling forms with previously entered content can be a big time saver. You might want to turn that one on. Automatically applying credits can be helpful for certain businesses, and it can be a hindrance to other businesses. So you're going to want to determine whether that should be on or off. Similarly with automatically invoicing unbilled activity. Do we want invoices to go to our clients that no one has approved, or do we need them to be reviewed and approved first? Right. So you can see that you do need to think about each one of these line items to be sure that it's going to be appropriate to the client file. One of my favorites is I like a date format of year, month, day. My clients like day, month, year. I can have it set up my way. They can have it set up their way, and we all get along. Whenever you're making a change to any one of these elements, be sure to click save. And then when you're finished in the advanced section or in any one of these sections, be sure to click the done button at the bottom to ensure that everything has been saved. Okay. There is some additional information. You may need to call tech support at some point. And the first thing they're going to ask you is, what is your company ID? You're going to find that from the gear icon and under additional info. In addition to the company ID that you can find here, you'll also see a number of shortcut keys. So if you're a shortcut key kind of person, here they are. If you want to access this from your PC, let's jump back into our presentation. So your additional info, I showed you the gear icon, additional info pops up this window. If you want to access this anytime and you're a PC user, click Control Alt question mark. And if you're a Mac, Control Option question mark. You also have date shortcuts that are available to you. Just place your cursor anywhere and use any one of these letters, but please note, enter them as lowercase, even though they are listed here in uppercase. Next up, sometimes when you get connected to a new client file, you might need to make some changes to the users, right? Maybe an employee has left and the business owner calls you and says, you know what, Steve doesn't work here anymore. Can you please remove him from my file? I don't want to make any changes to our data file. Or maybe you want to add a new user, or maybe you want to change a user's access. Where will you do it? Gear icon, manage users, and the users tab. Here, you can click edit to go ahead and make any changes to it.
Okay. Can I do that in like the sample one I have, or no? That's not loading. Come on. King Julian. And this is really like I don't know if like the intent of like the people that are watching these tutorials are like already using the software, but it is sort of marketed as like learn how to use the software, so I don't really understand what's going on here. Like I don't have a sample company or anything. Like what is going on? Okay, account and settings. Let's see. Aha. This is all like different though. Okay. Usage. Sales. Okay. Sales form, net 30. If we update it. Net 15. Save. Preferred delivery method. Shipping. Custom transaction numbers, service date, discount, deposit tags. Show product service column on sales, turn on price rules. Track quantity and price. Track inventory. Create multiple partial invoices. Okay. Expenses. Show items table on expense and purchase form. Show tag fields. Advanced accrual accounting. January. Sole proprietor. Da, 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 da. Pre-fill. Apply credits. Apply bill payments. Canadian. She had some extra stuff in there that this one doesn't have.
Existing user. I don't business owner call
What was this?
to the company ID.
Where was the
Appropriate to
extra
the client
shit?
file. One of my favorites is I like a date format of year, month, day. My clients like day, month, year.
Oh no, it was all the same. Okay.
Uppercase. Next up, sometimes when you get connected to a new client file, you might need to make some changes to the users, right? Maybe an employee has left and the business owner calls you and says, you know what, Steve doesn't work here anymore. Can you please remove him from my file? I don't.
Manage users. Oh goody. Broken again. Let's see. Manage users. What does that look like? No reply. So I can't invite anyone because it's sample. It's view user activity. Damn, what's Bob doing at 8 p.m.? Oh, that's me right now. Okay. Okay, so tax agency, tax payment. Seems legit. I don't need that. Why is it every time I leave? It's like you can't leave.
I don't want to make any changes to our data file, or or maybe you want to add a new user, or maybe you want to change a user's access. Where will you do it? Gear icon, manage users, and the users tab. Here, you can click edit to go ahead and make any changes to an existing user, or you can click the big green add user and add a new user to the file. The third thing is by clicking the ellipsis, you can also delete this particular employee from the file. Let's have a peek at that in real life. And we're gonna head over to our gear icon, our manage users. If you wanted to invite someone new, we're going to click add user, put in their first name, last name, email address, and decide what role we want to give them access to. Standard, all access, no access, or any subset in between. Right? Company administrator for business owner or primary admin. And then when it comes to employees, you can decide which one's going to be appropriate, or you can set them up as a non-active user. They only need to track time or view the reports. Once you've made that decision, you go ahead and send the invitation, and that person has now been invited. They will need to accept it at their end and add in their own credentials. Let's say, for example, Bill has quit the company, and the business owner, who's probably in this particular case, said, please delete Bill. We're just going to go over to our ellipsis and delete him there and confirm that deletion. If instead we wanted to edit his access, maybe he's no longer the in-house account, we want to change him to company admin, we could do that quickly and easily just by toggling that button there. Or from within this window, we could also delete him. Okay? So that's how you can manage your users within the file. And those really take care of your key company settings.
Okay, so we repeated a lot of content from the first module. Wonderful. Setting up sales tax.
Getting started with sales tax in QuickBooks Online is as simple as following a few easy steps. The first thing that you want to do is gather a little bit of information so that you're ready to go. So first thing, you're going to want to know where that business is located, which province, which city are they working in? Do they do business in more than one province? Are they making sales? Are they delivering? What is their situation? And which sales tax agencies do they need to pay sales tax to? Are they an HST situation? Are they a PST situation? What is the detail of that particular business's compliance responsibility? What is the filing frequency? Are they monthly, quarterly, annually? And of course, what is their GST, HST number and or their PST number, if that is applicable? So you want to gather up all this information and then head into your QBO file, access the Sales Tax Center. And if this is the very first time, you're going to see this window that says Set Up Sales Tax. It is important to know that when you're doing this for the very first time, QBO defaults to setting up the GST and or HST account, because it's not currently possible to set up PST only. So if your client only needs PST, you still need to activate the GST, HST component. Okay? What do you need to do next? Follow the prompts. So set up the sales tax, choose the province, click save, set up the start of the tax period if they're calendar or perhaps follow a different fiscal year, the frequency, whether they're accrual or cash, and then you can enter in the GST or HST number here and click next. It's as easy as that. Now you can add sales tax to your transaction.
Okay, where was that? Taxes, sales tax. Set up sales tax. Ontario. January. Sure. GST, HST number. I don't know, like RT31232 something. Now you can add sales tax to your transactions and record your sales tax payments. Oh, that's kind of sick. But for what company? Is this for my company? Oh yeah, I set up sales tax for who? Hello? I guess this is for my company. Your books. Ah, yes it is. Okay, understood.
Actions and record your sales tax payments right in your actions and record your sales tax payments right in your QBO online product. So you can visit the sales tax page whenever you want to view the activity, what's going on, or keep track of something that's happened in the past. So you get the confirmation window, you say okay, and that will return you back to the sales tax page, which now looks a little bit different. You can see we've set up our GST, our HST. In this case, it is an HST. This is an Ontario-based company. And QuickBooks already on its own has set up the CRA tax codes that are appropriate for this particular business. That is very helpful. How do you see what it's done? You're going to click your Manage Sales Tax button, and that will display what QBO has done for you. So it's set up HST at 13%. It has set up an exempt amount and a zero rated amount, all to match your compliance needs. If you wanted to add a new tax, you could go ahead and click your Add Tax button. But before we go there, let's head over to a sales receipt and have a look at what the sales tax codes now look like when you're processing a transaction.
Okay, hold on. Manage. 1, 2, 3. Done. Payments. We don't have any payments.
It's important to note that there are two places to select the sales tax handling when you're using a form such as a sales receipt or a bill. The first thing is that you're going to have to tell QuickBooks whether the amounts that you're entering are exclusive of tax, inclusive of tax, or out of scope of tax. This webinar is not going to cover the out of scope of tax, but do know that it is exclusive to QBO with a specific functionality. So until you get to that component and you understand it, best to just use and stick to exclusive or inclusive. Once you determine that, you're going to go to your sales tax code column, and here you can choose HST.
Would out of scope of tax just be if you're like a small business and you don't have enough sales to file GST? I think that would kind of track for me.
Exempt or zero rated, whichever is going to be appropriate for this particular transaction. Okay. Do know that you can also set up default tax codes in your chart of accounts. So for example, you might want to set up a default tax code for bank charges, because you always know it's going to be the same. If this vehicle or this business only operates in Ontario and they've got a fuel account, you could probably put HST as a default tax code in there. Customer profiles can also have a default tax code. So if you've got a customer in Ontario, you can code that customer to HST so that it's always going to be correct. If you've got a client in Alberta, you can code that particular client to GST only. And the last place that you can set up default tax codes is directly in your product and services items. And that can be a really handy place to keep track of where or which tax codes are going to be appropriate. You can always overwrite any of these defaults when you are in a transaction itself. And I will just circle back, the out of scope can be appropriate where the general rule of thumb is if it's a balance sheet account, an out of scope tax could be appropriate. And what do I mean by that? Well,
balance sheet account, out of scope of tax.
if you think about, if a shareholder has deposited money into the business, there's no sales tax associated with that, and that transaction should not show up on your sales tax transactions list. So that would be out of scope. Out of scope means that the transaction itself.
So it'd be like transfers or like asset purchases or sales, for example,
is not going to be included in your sales tax.
Or like loans and stuff would not be sales tax applicable.
Center listing for your tax filing purposes. Another place might be if the business owner withdraws money from the business. That is not an inclusive or exclusive of tax situation. That is an out of scope tax situation, similar to a bank loan that might happen. So an out of scope covers any transaction, typically, and I believe exclusively, for a balance sheet item that does not or should not be a part of your sales tax reporting. Okay? Let's move on. What if we wanted to add a new tax? So now it's time, we're doing business in BC, and we need to set up our BC PST. Do be sure to familiarize yourself with all of these, the rules and regulations. I'm just showing you how to function within QBO. If we need to set up the new province, we're going to go ahead and click the Add Tax button. And when we do so, we can choose which province and then fill in the details, what period, what frequency, what method, and the number, and click Add. Right? That is as straightforward. You can see it is very similar to setting up the GST HST, just more specific to the province. Now, sometimes we have some additional tax codes that we want, and we want to set them up specifically within our QBO product. So let's first head over to our tax center and head into our sales tax. you can see that this particular file has already been set up for GST HST, and it does have BCPST set up here. You can see that they haven't yet made any filings, but the system is here. If we wanted to go into our Manage Sales Tax window, we can see that there's our BC, there's our HST, and what if we wanted to set up our own custom tax code? That might be helpful, right? If we wanted to add a custom rate, we might want to call that Meals and Entertainment, a very popular code, tax at 50%. We would say that we pay this on purchases because we certainly don't collect it. We could add a description, Meals and Entertainment, 50%. And then we just follow along with the prompts, and QuickBooks will help us out. So this is an Ontario-based business, so we know that their HST is 13%. We might want to record that this is 6.5 if we're only capturing half, or if we are considering that there's always a tip, we might want to use 6.2. I'll leave that up to your professional discretion because you will know what's best for your particular client. You'll want this to be a liability account because you want this to track into your ITCs, because the next line is, where do you want it to show up? Well, we want it to show up in our ITCs. And just like that, we've set up a custom rate. We can click add, and now that tax code is going to be available to us on the payable side of our equation.
Okay, so I understand that on Meals and Entertainment, I'm pretty sure you pay the 13% in Ontario, for example. So, and since half of it is, you can deduct half of it as an expense. That means that half of the taxes that you paid can be used as an input tax credit. But you still pay the full amount, right? Oh, but I guess you get the other half back. So you only, at the end of the day, end up paying that much. This seems like a more confusing way to do it, in my opinion, than, I guess if you pre-code it, then you don't have to worry about that other half or the other amount, but it still seems kind of confusing to me.
Click done, and you are all set to go.
Okay.
I'm just going to quickly open up an expense, and we want to say that amounts are exclusive of tax. Let's go find our friends at Staples. Our amount is $50, exclusive of tax. We're going to add our HST. We can see how easy that was. Maybe this isn't Staples. Maybe in this particular case, we want to do our Meals and Entertainment. We're going to pick our sales tax of 50% and put our $50 in there, and you can see the difference.
Yeah. Wait, I'm confused. So we bought something from Staples and we were taxed. This doesn't make any sense to me, because isn't this like what you paid? Payment amount. Like if you paid money, the business is going to still charge you 13%, right? Oh boy. Okay. Let me go and do these things. So expenses. Let me just try this. Okay, hold on. Let me go to taxes. Let me just set up exactly what she did. Manage sales tax. Add a custom rate. Meals and entertainment. Expenses at 50%. I pay this? Wait, I missed that. When did she set that up? So you pay this. Where do you pay 6.2% on? Okay. It's an expense.
Liability account, because you want this to track into your ITCs, because the next line is, where do you want it to show up? Well, we want it to show up.
Oh, you want it to track into your input tax credits. Okay, I don't think I quite understand that. So is the 6.2% our input tax credit, or is it what we paid? Okay.
Up in our ITCs. And just like that, we've set up a custom rate. We can click add. And now that tax code is going to be available to us. And we want to say that amounts are exclusive of tax. Let's go find our friends at Staples. Our amount is $50.
Okay, we did that. Let's go to expenses. Let's go new transaction, expense. Who did you pay? McDonald's. Supplier, I guess. Due on receipt. I don't have any categories, but it would be in meals and entertainment. Okay, I'll have to update that, I guess. Category. It's an expense. McDonald's. Amount $20. Meals and entertainment. Save. Okay. Expense added.
Exclusive of tax. We're going to add our HST. We can see how easy that was. Maybe this isn't Staples. Maybe in this particular case, we want to do our meals and entertainment. We're going to pick our sales tax of 50% and put our $50 in there, and you can see the difference. And that can be really, really helpful if you've got these sales tax codes set up to be sure that your sales tax center is going to handle everything in the way in which you need it to.
All right. Understand how to use tax. Looked at setting up sales tax. Next. Chart of accounts. Central. Okay, let's see.
A solid chart of accounts or a well-organized chart of accounts is really the foundation of any good reporting or financial results of a business. In QuickBooks Online, you have 4 different ways to access the chart of accounts so that it's always quick and easy to find and to maintain. You can access it from the Transaction Center, from the Accountant Tools Center, from the Gear, all lists, and then chart of accounts, or the Gear and then the chart of accounts. So lots of different ways to get to the same place. And there's a lot of different ways that you can customize the chart of accounts. So you can add a new account, you could edit an existing account. If the account numbers are not yet activated, you can enable account numbers so that they display. You can create sub accounts, you can merge duplicate accounts in case you've got auto insurance and automobile insurance, 2 of the same name, tracking the same thing. You can also make accounts inactive. So if perhaps maybe you closed a bank account, you don't want to see it on your reports all the time, you can make it inactive. That doesn't actually delete the account, and that's a good thing, just in case you need to go back and review that bank activity at some point in the future. And if you have made something inactive and oops, maybe you shouldn't have, you can always reactivate it and all the history is still there. I like to call out that many firms do like to use a standard chart of accounts, so you can always create your own chart and import it into any new QBO file that you create. But right now, we're just going to focus on the chart of accounts. And let's bring it to life and show you how it works. So here we are in one of my training files. We know that there's a number of ways to access our chart. So we can go to our Transaction Center. There's our chart of accounts. We can go to our, let's clear that filter. Let's go to our Accountant tool. There's our chart of accounts.
Chart of accounts. Oh shit. I left the training.
Accounts quick link. That's actually my favorite way of accessing it. And then also from your gear icon, your company column, chart of accounts is there for you. And then last and the longest way of accessing it is gear icon, all lists, chart of accounts. So 4 roads lead to the same place. And once we're in here, we know that there's a number of different ways that we can make changes or review. The first thing first, the default sort is by the accounting equation. So your assets, liabilities, equity, income, cost of goods sold, expenses, and then other income and other expenses. So that's a standard format. I'm sure that that's what we're all familiar with, but if you wanted to organize it by name, you could do that. And that can be helpful if you're looking up alphabetically, something that might make sense. Maybe you're looking for, auto. There are better ways. I'm going to show you the filtering in just 1 second. You might want to go by detail type. Maybe you need to go by account balance. Whatever your need is, you can sort it in that particular format, but do know that the standard is the accounting equation, assets through to other income and expense. Okay? If we wanted to add a new account, all we have to do is hit our green button, and we are presented with a happy little form that we can complete. Maybe we've got a brand new credit card. We're going to put it here. Now we have a MasterCard ending in 3467, and we can continue on from there. If we have an account number already that we're ready to use, we could enter it here, or we could leave it blank. And sub-account, default tax code if needed. We know that there won't be a tax code because these are just charges. We could leave it out of scope, save and close. So now we've added a brand new account. If I scroll down to the section, you can see that I've got a MasterCard 3467 and a MasterCard 0406. So it'd be pretty easy for me to edit this account in order to add a chart number. And how about 2130? How about 2135? So there they are, nice and neat, going to show up, be transacted. So we can add and edit. Sometimes we want to have sub-accounts. A great example of that is when it comes to our assets. So we have our asset account, leasehold improvements, and we've got sub-accounts of cost and accumulated amortization. How would you set that up? Well, not too difficult. How about we edit one of those sub-accounts so we can see the format? You can see that information is all in there, and then we've got a sub-account section that's been checked, and we have selected the correct account that we would like to create as a sub-account. A very common sub-account is, or one that we want to sometimes accumulate together, might be utilities. Insurance is a very popular one because many businesses have many different kinds of insurance. You can see that we've got an insurance account with account 5685, and then we've got a number of subs that all roll up to that account. However,
are these like account numbers standard? Because in this chart of accounts, this like sample, there's a lot of, sorry kitty, there's a lot of like, it looks like there's like some standard stuff. I'm not a bookkeeper and so I wouldn't know, but aha, there is standard chart of accounts is a numerical system. So this is like the Dewey Decimal System for accountants. Asset, liability, equity, revenue, cost of goods sold, expenses. Got it. Account and settings. I don't see it. Company settings. There's me doxing myself. Great. Cool. Oh, there's me doxing myself again. Great. This is fun. Oh my god. That's fine. This video just won't go live, I guess, or I'll blur it in the YouTube video or something. Just like those 10 seconds. Oh, what a pain in the ass. It was around 119. I'll just make a note. leave that. Okay, that's fine. Man. Settings. Rules. Recurring. I don't actually know where I would find setting up chart of accounts. Man. Okay.
However, our eagle eye will
That's okay.
notice that we have an E&O insurance account here at 568-685B, and we have an E&O insurance account here at 5685E. Those two are duplicates, with the difference being it's E space ampersand space O, or E&O with no spaces. So what might we want to do here is, if this has been a recent duplication, we may, and there's only been 1 or 2 transactions in each in the current fiscal year, we may want to merge those 2 accounts. Okay? So how would we merge them? Well, first, we need to decide which account we want to keep and which account we want to get rid of, for lack of a better term. So if we decide that the E space with the spaces between the E and O is the one we want to keep, what we're going to do is edit, copy the name, close that, and then open up the account that we want to eliminate. And what we're going to do is edit. We're going to paste in the name as we want it. We're going to erase the number. We're going to save and close. We are presented with a pop-up that says this name is already being used. Do you want to merge them? We can go ahead and say yes. And now all we have left is the one E&O account. Okay? Once we've merged something, we cannot unmerge it. So this is a permanent one-time activity. We'll want to be sure that we do it correctly. And we'll want to review, by virtue of our running a report, whether or not this may have an impact on a prior fiscal year. In this case, we're safe because there's no transactions in this particular test file, and we know that everything is okay. Let's go back and look at our whole list. In this case, we can see that we've got a checking account here, presumably Canadian, and we've got a US checking account here. We've got a number of other accounts. Now, let's say that the US account has been closed. We don't want to see it anymore.
If I went to the other one I had, does this one have like a chart of accounts? Does it have? So you want to do it by balance sheets, profit and loss, that sort of tracks. So we have, but this isn't like numbered or anything. Oh, but maybe now I can go to settings. And then I can, there's a way to set it up. Oh, here. No, hold on. Advanced edit chart of accounts. I don't see that. Oh. Enable account numbers. Show. Save. So now, if I go to my chart of accounts, it should be there. Be numbers. Oh, there are no numbers. So do I would have to manually add the numbers, I think. Whatever, that's okay. Cost of goods sold. Okay.
Through this together.
All right. What am I doing?
more. What do we want to do? In our minds, we'd like to delete it, but what we can do instead, and our only option, is to make it inactive. If we make it inactive, we can see it completes all the transactions associated with the account. That means if there's an account balance here, QuickBooks is going to close that to your opening equity account. That means you're going to have to make further transactions. You're going to create yourself a problem to solve. Or in this case, if the account balance is 0, then we don't need to worry about it. So if you're in doubt, keep it active, double check everything, be sure that this account is ready to close because it is in fact 0. And then you could go ahead and make it inactive. Okay. That means it's not going to show up on our active list anymore. Now, let's say someone comes running down the hall and says, wait, you should not have deleted the US account. Please bring it back. How do we do that? We're going to click our micro gear icon. We're going to toggle on our include inactive list. We can see there is our US account that's been inactivated, and we can go ahead and make it active again. Okay. Once we've done that, we'll probably want to go and untoggle the include inactive because we don't want to have our list cluttered up with that on a day-to-day basis. So now we're back to just looking at our active accounts, and we are all set to go. So there's our chart of accounts. We see that we currently have our account numbers enabled, and we can see them. Sometimes you'll open up an account, and those account numbers are not visible to you. So you may need to go to your gear icon, to your account and settings, and to your advanced tab, where you see you've got chart of accounts. You can see enable account numbers is currently on. If I toggle that off and click save and done, what we would expect to see is that our numbers have gone away. Of course, they're not going to, so I'm going to manually do it. And now our numbers have disappeared because they have been turned off. Okay. What you will notice is they no longer show up in the name. So if you follow what I just showed you, the number showed up in the name column as well as the name of the account. Right now, they're only showing up in the number column because when I disabled the chart of accounts, it did not delete these numbers. QuickBooks has retained them so that if we go back to our account and settings and enable them again, and save and done. There they are. So they're listed as the number and then also in the name and number over here. So that's where you can enable and disable your chart of account numbers. So that is the world tour of your chart of accounts. And just remember, you can merge, edit, add, you can have sub accounts, you can activate, inactivate, and reactivate your accounts.
Okay. What am I introductioning? Why does it say introduction? Import and export data. I can't imagine this is relevant to me at all.
Importing information into QuickBooks Online can be a very easy and effective way of bringing in a whole bunch of data or a whole bunch of lists or a whole bunch of information so that you can use it right away and start handling the financial transactions of your client. To access the import functionality, you're going to go to your big gear icon and click import data. That is the main way. That's the big, I guess, the big pipeline for bringing items in. And you can see that there are 8 different options for importing data into QBO.
I feel like a good thing to do, like a good way to like test run this would be to do it for my own business from like last year. I guess even from this year I could do it, but
bank data, so your bank feed, customer list, supplier list, your chart of accounts. So as you know, when you create a QBO file from your QBO
I'm doing like such small numbers that it doesn't make any sense to pay for a subscription.
That chart of accounts is pretty lean. I think there's probably about 8 standard accounts. You may have your own chart that you like to use across all clients, which you could import here. Your products and services list, you can actually import invoices. So if your client is invoicing out of Excel or some other program, you can still import them in here so that your client profiles and your subledgers are complete and up to date. Journal entries, what if it's a big long list of adjusting journal entries? You can bring those in as well as importing bills. This can be really helpful. Now within, this is the main like import anything section from the gear icon, but from each sub page or sub center, such as your chart of accounts or your client list, your supplier list, those are also places where you could import data. Here's how that might look. You can also export data from your QuickBooks Online file. So it's similar, you've got your gear icon. We know that we can import data, which we just looked at, or we can export data. And if we export data, we'll show you that in just a minute when we jump into product. You can either export from reports directly or export more global data from using your gear icon. Okay, so let's jump into product and do that together. Using Sky Training System, my favorite data set. And let's first go to our big gear icon and talk about importing data. We know that we can import bank data, customer, supplier, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about customers for a minute.
Now I have to go to this one. And then from here I could do import. And then here are all the options. Customers.
I'll start by
Always download the sample file because this will give you the format and function and column list that you will need to populate before importing. So go ahead and download that sample data. You know it's going to pop up right there. And the computer's giving me some trouble, of course. So what you would do is open up that Excel document, populate it with the customer, their address, their contact information, click browse, match up the fields, and go ahead and import it. Okay? That can be really helpful, similar to your chart of accounts, and away you go. We also talked about it being in your center. So in your sales center, if you go to your customer center and you're working in here, you know you can create a new customer, but you can also import customers directly from here. Same exact place, it's just a different way to get there. Download the sample file, populate it, connect it here, and then follow the prompts. Okay? If we wanted to export data, so here's a great example. Here's our customer list. If we wanted to export our customer list, there's an export button right here. So we've now exported that to an Excel spreadsheet file. If we go back to our gear icon, we can export data from the export data section. And here we have a lot of options available to us. You can see that our default is all dates. So if you wanted to export the general ledger, the profit and loss, our default you can export data from the export data section. And here we have a lot of options available to us. You can see that our default is all dates. So if you wanted to export the general ledger, the profit and loss balance sheet, trial balance journal entry for all dates, that is the default. And you can export that out to Excel, right? You can always do a different subset, custom if you want it, or a particular, choose one of these templated date ranges. You can also export lists. There's your customer list, employees list, or suppliers list, right? There's always going to be additional information. We've got a hyperlink here that might help you if that is a challenge that you are having. And again, choose what you need to do. You can toggle on all, one, or none. I guess none is not really going to be helpful. And then go ahead and export them. Okay. So just like that, the importing and exporting is really quite intuitive. Follow the prompts and bring those elements in or out. The last thing that I want to just mention to you is that when you're importing data, it is possible to import your products and services and change only the price field. This is the only overwrite data function that's available to you. If you import suppliers, it's either going to tell you that it's a duplicate or it's going to import a new supplier because it's not already there. If you export your products and services list, change all your prices, and then import the list again, it's going to import the new price. It's not going to duplicate all your existing products and services, and that is a great way to update the pricing quickly and easily and efficiently. So those are your import export data. Always want to find you some time savers because that is why we like to use cloud-based products and why the computer is our friend these days.
Cool. Seems easy enough. All right. So I think I'm gonna do these some other time because I've been here for over an hour and I don't know that my brain can really do anymore. This will probably take about 2 hours for me to do properly. This is really useful stuff. I just don't have like the sample data to work with, like from the perspective that the trainer is doing it. But I do have, like, I don't have a sample QBO accountant account, but I do have a sample like not customer, like a sample business account, which look different, which is fine because most of the info is the same, but like I don't have access. Like I can't do that. So that's okay though. Let's see what's in sales tax. Current period. Collected, paid, filed, summary. Sales and other revenue from 1 month. 10 grand. GST collected. Input tax credits. I want to see those. Electric and gas service. 13%. The input tax credits are like 8. They're 8%, right? What's 162.5 over 1250? That seems like 8%. No, 13%. What is this number then? What is a balance number? Oh, is a running total. Okay. This is full 13%. I didn't think, unless that this is a sole proprietorship. I'm pretty sure it's only like 8%, right? I've been doing input tax credits wrong. So it is 100%. Okay. I feel like I've been doing this wrong then. I don't really know. It's slightly concerning that I don't know. Maybe, hold on. There's an easy way for me to check if I've been doing this right or wrong. HST paid. Okay, deductible car expenses. 80% for taxes. So 80% of HST, HST, HST. So I calculated all of my HST. Business expenses. Calculated all of my HST. Got my net pay. Got my HST out of the net pay. And then I got my input tax credits, which are just the shit that I added, which was my expenses. So I did just do 13%, so I have been doing this right. So I got paid $2,600 in HST, and I owed I deducted $2,300 from my expenses, and I ended up owing $300. Okay, so that is how that works. I have been doing it right. I just haven't done it in a year, so I forgot. Okay, this is pretty cool that you can just input tax credit your way to success. So this is all the shit we spent money on. Water. What if I go to like one of these? What did we pay to Jacqueline? Catering, food, and beverage. General services. Oh, so we're a catering business. Payee. I thought these were all expenses, though. Because for us to have input tax credits, these would have to be expenditures. Check expense. So we paid Jacqueline $37.50 plus HST for catering, I guess, for our event, for our event business. Got it. Okay, so interesting. Business overview. Let's see the balance sheet. Cash, accounts receivable, total current assets, non-current assets, furniture depreciation, net assets, current liabilities, payables, credit card, non-current liabilities, that's a note, shareholders equity, owner's equity, contributions, draws, retained earnings, profit, total for liabilities and equity. Inventory asset increased. I like these reports. Where is our P&L? This is only for 2 weeks. Sales, cost of goods sold. Do not have a very good gross profit margin. Actually, that's not bad. Net profit's not bad. Oh, it said Sunday for a second. I was like, uh-oh. Accounts receivable. Damn, there's a lot of reports here. Okay, I see why people would use this. This is crazy. It's like crazy detailed. Like it gives you so much information. Sales by customer type. Monthly consulting. Name badges and water bottles. 8 monthly consultations. 300 name badges and 300 water bottles. So are we not doing events anymore? Oh, I guess we would be. So we just marked up. We sold 300 water bottles for $3. I want to see the invoice. Balance due. Net 30. So Anil Kumar owes us $4,700, I believe. Sales by customer type. Wait, so this one invoice, oh, he owes us for both. That's why it's so big. I was like, why is there so much? He owes us both. Okay, let's go back. See what's in the journal. So why did we start at 179? So we deposited money. Accounts receivable, rent plus HST, monthly bill, water. Oh, the journal's pretty useful. Would you look at that? Sales of product, inventory, account receivable, cost of goods sold. Okay, so credit, inventory, debit, cost of goods sold, water bottle, sale, credit, inventory, cost of goods sold, HST payable. Inventory is an asset account, so to increase it you debit it, and to decrease it you credit it. And then cost of goods sold is a contra asset account, so you would increase, you wouldn't really like increase it, but you would accumulate cost of goods sold as a debit. Okay. That's pretty cool. I like this like sample company thing. That's very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna do this later, I think. I'm making decent progress. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. These account numbers, I figured that one out. That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that later. I did that correctly. Input tax credits is fine. QuickBooks. Import, categorize, create auto rule, capture receipts, view your reports. I like this. This is good. Like, this is actually pretty useful stuff. And now that I'm kind of getting the hang of it in the company, like example company, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. Okay. Okay. Send a pic of my library card. I can. I can find it. Pardon me for a second. All right. Sorted. Managed. All right. Now I'm gonna play the games.